If you've got any questions throughout the tour, please don't hesitate, just ask me. Also, if you want me to talk louder, slower, or even stop talking, it is your private boat after all, please just let me know. Have any of you been punting before? You've been in Cambridge or?
Cambridge, yeah.
Very nice. Did you do the punting or did you get punted? You got punted, very nice. Well, yeah, we're going to go past 7 colleges, 9 bridges, 3 libraries, and I'll tell you a bit about each of them. Once again, any questions about what you see, just let me know. Are you guys on holiday?
Yeah.
Very nice. Whereabouts are you guys from?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. How long are you in the UK for?
Actually, my daughter, she's graduated from UK.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Yeah. Just over 1,200 punting tours in my life. I've probably punted about 8,500 people. Yeah. It's quite a few. Yeah. But we're going past our first of the 7 colleges right now. So it's this one on the right hand side. In a moment the wall will drop, you'll get a better view of it. This is Magdalen College. So Magdalen dates back to the 15th century originally, but originally it wasn't a Cambridge college. Originally it was a hostel for monks, and appropriately it had the name Monks Hostel. Monks Hostel didn't last very long though. It was shut down, and Magdalen College took the form it takes today in 1542 when it was refounded by a guy named Thomas Audley. So Thomas Audley, he was a Chancellor to King Henry VIII. Not many people survived that job, most got their head cut off, but Thomas Audley, he managed to survive it. Monty Don, the King of Gardening, he studied at Magdalen College, as did Samuel Pepys. C.S. Lewis, he was a fellow here. They pride themselves, Magdalen, on being the most progressive and inclusive of the Cambridge colleges. This is because they're the first Protestant college here in Cambridge to have Catholic students, they're the first Cambridge college to have Jewish students, and also the first one to have Asian students. One thing they do not brag about though is they're the last Cambridge college to have female students. So would anyone like to guess what year Magdalen College here first let women attend their college? You got any guesses?
1989.
Oh yeah, you guys, 1988, you're 1 year old. Yeah, the way the male academics reacted wasn't good. They wore black armbands, they flew flags at half-mast, and they held a mock funeral for education. But since women have attended Magdalen College, the average grade has gone up. It's worked out all right for them. So this is Magdalen College. This here is Magdalen Bridge, and we're just about to go under it. Have you seen how Magdalen is spelt? Have you seen the word written down anywhere? You've got Magdalen Street up here. It's spelt very odd. It's spelt as if you'd pronounce it Magdalene, as in Mary of Magdalene. But it's Thomas Audley, he insisted on the pronunciation Magdalen, and this is because you weren't allowed to name a Cambridge college after yourself at the time. But Thomas Audley, he was very vain, so he decided he'd call his college Magdalen, but then insist on the ancient the ancient French pronunciation Magdalen, so he could sneak Audley in the middle of the name. So it put his name in there. If you go to Audley End, that's where Thomas Audley's from. It's a family house near here. Very expensive, massive manor house. Shows how rich he was. We're just about to go through the deepest part of the river. And on the right hand side, this is some of the accommodation for Magdalen. Believe it or not, those 2 buildings, only 30 years separate their construction. It's completely different architecture styles there. You've got the Lutchinson building built in the 1920s, and then you've got the O block there built in the 50s. Just going past the Canadian geese. So just coming into St John's College now. So St John's is over 500 years old. It was founded, yes, St John's is to the right of us, to the left of us, as far as we can see in front of us. It's everywhere. So it's over 500 years old. It was founded in 1511 But the first building I'd like to talk about is not particularly old at all. It's the one on the right hand side, this grey building. That's a St John's Crypt building. Yeah, built in 1967. It's a very important building for the UK. This is because it was the first to be designed using CAD, so computer aided design. But yeah, they got Prince at the time, but now King Charles down here to unveil it, who gave a lovely speech about Cambridge. He then didn't realise his microphone was still connected, and he was overheard saying that this building here on the right hand side looks like a multi-storey car park. No, the building isn't. The college is. So there's a difference between the college founding dates and when the buildings were built, because buildings they get knocked down, they get redeveloped. But these buildings, they are still very old. So the one on the right hand side was built in 1831, and it's called the New Court of St John's. On the other side of the river, that's the Old Court of St John's. So built in 1624, built between 1624 and 1671. Yes, and then behind it, so it's both sides, it's all along here. Behind the stained glass window there, that's the St John's Library. And in front of us, this here is the Bridge of Sighs. So it's not the only Bridge of Sighs in the world. There's one here, there's one in Oxford, there's also one in Venice, just to name three. The one in Venice being the original. The Bridge of Sighs here in Cambridge has the name Bridge of Sighs because one day Queen Victoria came to Cambridge and she said, that looks like the Bridge of Sighs in Venice. She had never been to Venice, she had never seen the Bridge of Sighs in Venice. She had actually only ever read a description of the bridge, and this is what she imagined it looked like. Most people, they don't think the bridges look that similar at all, but it doesn't matter what most people think, it matters what Queen Victoria thought. She thought the bridges looked the same, so we've been calling this a Bridge of Sighs for over 100 years now. And then this bridge in front of us, this is a Wren Bridge, designed by Sir Christopher Wren, who also designed St Paul's Cathedral in London. But us punters, we don't call it the Wren Bridge, we know it by a different name. Amongst us punters, this bridge is referred to as Concussion Bridge. I'm sure you can tell why. We play a very mean joke, we punt right up to the bridge, we then wait to the very last second, we then duck, stamp our foot and try and make our customers think we've hit our heads on the bridge. So, a bit like this, we wait and we wait and we wait and we go, ah. It's my foot. All the time, yeah. But I've got to pretend that it didn't happen, because it's quite embarrassing. Or like it'll be a glancing, because you can imagine I've got only 4 people on the boat now, but we could have up to 12. So the height of the boat will differ. So if I've done all day with 12 people on my boat, I'll just get very used to just doing that. And then all of a sudden I've got 4 and it's a little bit higher, I do that and then, yeah. Muscle memory, yeah, not helping me out. One of my friends though, he used to limbo under that bridge, which is perfectly fine, except some days we do lots and lots of tours. This was his 9th tour of the day, he'd punted about 16 miles. He tried to limbo under that bridge, he didn't realise his muscles were far too tight, he couldn't quite get low enough, he got knocked in the river. It was alright, he had a lovely German family, they found it all really funny.
Did you ever fell down though?
Once, yeah. I've done about 1,200 tours though, as I've, yeah. Yeah, they say you're not a proper, yeah, just watch your elbows. They say you're not a proper punter until you've been baptised by the river, so that's my excuse. This here on the right, that's the front of the New Court building. So believe it or not, that is student accommodation. So 2nd and 3rd year students, they live inside that building. The nickname of the New Court is the wedding cake. This is because it's perfectly symmetrical and it has a tiered design. There's only one detail on the building which purposely breaks the symmetry, and it's the eagle, right in the middle of the building. The eagle, it breaks the symmetry because it's looking to the side and not straight ahead. The reason it's looking to the side is because if it was looking straight ahead, it'd be looking right at Trinity College. And Trinity and St John's, they have a very long-standing and very petty rivalry. The two colleges, they hate one another. St John's, they didn't even want their eagle looking at Trinity. The eagle's looking at the eagle's looking away from Trinity in disgust.
There's a split in Christianity. So it was led by a man named Martin Luther in Germany. man named Martin Luther in Germany. It's the Reformation. And
So this is Trinity College. So that's the one that St John's hate. But Trinity, they hate St John's as well. And they're not the only college in Cambridge to not like St John's. It's pretty much every college. There's a saying, which is I'd sooner go to Oxford than St John's. Are you guys Harry Potter fans? Do you like Harry Potter? Yeah. They're Slytherin. They're the Slytherin of Cambridge.
he did the same thing. He went to divorce one of his wives.
We are just coming into Trinity now.
He set up his own church called the Church of England.
So Trinity, they're the biggest college and the richest college here in Cambridge. They're worth about £2 billion. So they own the land beneath the O2 Arena in London. They're the leaseholders to that building. They own parts of Felixstowe Docks. They even own parts of Manhattan in New York. There's a rumour you could walk all the way from here to Oxford and not step foot off land owned by Trinity College. Of course, this rumour, it's not true. They never let you step foot on their land in the first place. But the building on the left-hand side, this big square one, that is the Wren Library. So it's one of Trinity's libraries, and it's got some of the most important academic texts of all time. So they have Sir Isaac Newton's own copy of his book, Principia Mathematica, with his handwritten notes in it. They've got original works of Shakespeare. They also have the most important academic text of all time, the original copies of Winnie the Pooh inside that building. This is because A.A. Milne, the author of Winnie the Pooh, he studied at Trinity and he donated his manuscripts upon his death. Isaac Newton, he also studied here, he also taught here. And then this is Trinity Bridge. Just watch your fingers. Yeah, there's a famous story about Lord Byron. So Lord Byron, he studied here at Trinity, the Romantic poet. He was a bit of a rock star in his time. He didn't like getting told what to do, and he also loved his dog. He had a big Bernese Mountain Dog, and there was a rule at the time when he studied here. It specifically said you're not allowed to, like a student's not allowed to keep a dog or a cat in their residence here at Cambridge, and it really upset him. And he wanted to get back at the college, so what he did is he brought his bear to Cambridge with him, and he studied with his bear. So, can you see the tall building poking out the trees there? That's a university library. So it's one of 100 libraries, or just under 100 libraries we have here in Cambridge, and it's the biggest library we have in Cambridge. It's got about 7 million books, and it's also one of 4 copyright libraries in the UK, which basically means if you want to have a book published in the UK, you've got to send a copy of it to that library or one of its partners in order to verify that you haven't just plagiarised an already existing text. Pretty massive building. The actual building was designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott, who also designed the red telephone box. And we're just coming into Trinity Hall College now. So Trinity and Trinity Hall, don't let their names fool you. They're completely separate colleges. Trinity Hall is actually the older Cambridge Trinity. It's 200 years older. So it's just this one on the other side of the brook. So the brick and the wood building, that's their library, the Gerwood Library, built in 1998. But as I mentioned, the actual college, much older. It was founded shortly after the Black Death or the bubonic plague. And originally you had to study law or theology to go to Trinity Hall. And this is because the Black Death had killed almost every single lawyer and priest in the UK. And this is quite simply because the first thing anybody did as soon as they caught the Black Death is they went to their priest, who'd pray for them, who'd catch the Black Death and die. After they'd gone to their priest, they'd go to their lawyer, who'd write their will for them, who then, guess what, also catch the Black Death and die. So we're running out of lawyers and priests. So we created Trinity Hall College here on the left to educate new ones. You don't have to study law or theology to go there anymore. It's where Professor Stephen Hawking did his postgraduate degrees. So he did his undergrads at Oxford, postgraduates at Trinity Hall, and then he worked for Gonville and Keyes as an academic, which is another Cambridge college here, for the rest of his academic career. It's actually where Jimmy Carr studied, Gonville and Keyes. Okay, so on the right hand side, this is Clare College Gardens, and then in a moment on the left hand side you'll see Clare College. So yeah, so this is Clare College. That's their cafe, and then you'll see that old court in just a second. But yeah, Clare College. They're the oldest college on the river and the second oldest in Cambridge. They were founded in 1326. But originally, when they were founded, they weren't called Clare College. Originally, they had the name University Hall. But University Hall was a very poor college. They needed a patron, and they found a patron in a woman called Elizabeth de Clare, hence the name Clare College. Elizabeth, she was the richest woman in Europe at her time, and the way she made her money is she married the richest man in England at the time, who died shortly after their marriage. She then found a second, equally rich, equally influential husband, who died shortly after their marriage. And then she found a third, equally rich, equally influential husband, who died of food poisoning, once again shortly after their marriage. This was all before she turned 27. So this is Clare Bridge, and that's Clare College over there. It's where Sir David Attenborough studied. Are you glad you got a chauffeur if you look in front of us? And we're taking a voyage through the undergrowth. We're just coming into King's College now. So King's was founded in 1441 by King Henry VI. He was only 19 at the time. Yeah, it's all of this on the left. So from just, you see where Clare has all the scaffolding, everything except that on this side is King's. So yeah, founded in 1441 by King Henry VI. He was only 19 at the time. The big white building, that's the Gibbs building, built in 1732. And then next to the Gibbs building is the King's Chapel building. So construction started on the King's Chapel building in 1446. Initially, they said it was going to take 11 years to build. In the end, it took them nearly 100 years to build. Went through 2 Henrys, that building. Construction started under the reign of Henry VI, didn't finish until the reign of Henry VIII. This here. What took so long? They kept on running out of money. So funding was inconsistent. There was they weren't building for 100 years. It was very stop-starty. All the geese. You also got the floating bar if you fancy a drink. Right. Yeah, fully licensed as well, which is quite cool. In front of you guys from Hong Kong, you said? Yeah, so there's a Chinese poet called Xu Zhimo who studied here, and he wrote the poem Come Chao, which I've been told is very, very famous in China, but I've got and Hong Kong and Taiwan, and but I've been told my pronunciation's really bad.
Yeah, maybe she would.
Yeah, do you Xu Zhimo? It's a struggle. They've got a plaque for him. Yeah, doesn't always go so well though. It's fine on days like today because they've got enough space to go from bank to bank, but yesterday, when there was about 100 boats out on the river, lots of collisions, which is quite tiresome. Yeah, so yeah, punting up and down in a straight line is relatively easy. Is when you change the momentum, you change the direction of it. That's when it starts to wear you out a bit. But this here on the left, this is Bodley's Court, which is accommodation for third years at King's. So when this building was built, the room allocation was initially done via something called the Scholars' Ballot. And the Scholars' Ballot basically meant the best student got the best room. So the best rooms are on the top floor. They never told me what happened to the worst students. I did hear rumours of a dungeon below. That one was never confirmed though. But it's probably for the best that King's don't use the Scholars' Ballot anymore, because I wouldn't like to be competing with the likes of Salman Rushdie, John Maynard Keynes, Alan Turing, all previous King's alumni who I'm sure sort of reserve the top rooms for themselves. We're just about to cross into Queen's now. Yeah. So Queen's founded in 1448, so 7 years after King's, because if you have a king, you need a queen, obviously. founded by Mark von Jew. On the left-hand side, this is the Erasmus building with all the scaffolding on top of it. Us punters, we're really fond of this building. We love it. We've given it a really affectionate nickname. We don't call it the Erasmus building. We call it the ugliest building on the river. That's what we call it. It was designed by a man named Sir Basil Spence, who was a camouflage expert during the Second World War. He actually designed the camouflage for British Africa Corps. And they went to Basil and they said, "Hey Basil, we just want a building which blends in. Show us the other side of the bank if you can." He said no problem, but then designed that. Some say he failed the brief. Believe it or not, it is meant to look like the other side of the bank. So the brick stilts you can't really see because it's boarded up, but the brick stilts at the bottom, they're meant to mimic tree trunks. The grey railing on the top meant to look like our lovely British weather. Every other architect who's designed a major building in Cambridge has been invited back to a formal event at one time or another. So Basil Spence is still waiting on his invite. And no prize for guessing what university Basil went to. He designed that. Obviously he went to Oxford. On the right side, that is the Queen's Crypts building. So if you remember right at the start of the tour, we went past the St John's Crypts building. This is the Queen's Crypts. So Crypts is the name of a foundation that donate loads of money for to build accommodation. So it's just accommodation. It's on the site though where they used to have their squash courts. And then in front of us, this is the wooden bridge, best known by its nickname though, the mathematical bridge. We have our own nickname for this bridge. We sometimes refer to it as the Bridge of Lies. So this is because there are numerous famous stories about this bridge. Unfortunately, almost all of them are completely untrue. So the most famous story is that Sir Isaac Newton designed the bridge, and he designed it without the use of nuts, bolts nor hinges. Well, if you look at the bridge, it's got nuts and bolts all over it. Also, Sir Isaac Newton, he was dead for over 20 years before the bridge was built. He had nothing to do with the construction. The actual reason it's called the mathematical bridge is because it uses a method in which each one of those beams of wood, they're perfectly straight, and they're the radian or the tangent of the same circle, which means the more compression you put on the centre of the bridge, the stronger the bridge gets. Unfortunately, this explanation, it doesn't sell many punting tour tickets. So what we've had to do is we invented the story about how Isaac Newton designed the bridge, and he designed it without the use of nuts or bolts. And then the engineering students were told that they had to take it apart, put it back together again and figure out how it was built. And then the story continues that they weren't clever enough to do so, and that's why it's bolted back together. Unfortunately though, as I said, this story is completely untrue. We're just going to flip around here and we'll start heading back. Although that over there, that's my least favourite building in Cambridge. The big grey one, the SU. It's where I had to sit my exams this year. Yeah. Although it was quite good because like everyone else, all of my friends, they had just regular exams. I get some extra time. Yeah, so it's really close to the centre of town, and where everyone else was doing their exams was like an hour away. So it meant that I just got an extra 45 minutes of revision or sleep, which was nice. Hello.
I think we have covered almost everything.
Pardon, sorry?
We have covered everything.
Yeah, but well, there's a few things. Like this one here on the right, this is the oldest building on the river. So it's called President's Lodge. It dates back to the 1460s. It's so old, if you look at the top half of the building, see it's got bricked up windows, showing it dates back to the window tax. So the window tax is a point in British history in which glass was very expensive. They decided they'd tax it. It was horrifically unsuccessful. All the tax resulted in was the saying daylight robbery, or even the saying robbing me blind. Both those sayings date back to the window tax due to people breaking up their windows. Yeah, so normally on the way back, I'll... how many?
When was this constructed?
The 1460s, like 1464, I think. So yeah, very old. Yeah, it's Queen's College. They have a lot of original architecture, and this is because they're historically quite a poor college. So by the way, we've just got umbrellas. We've got two at the front, two at the back. They're quite big. They're like big golf umbrellas, so like one per row normally like fits quite well if the rain gets too much for you guys. But yeah, Queen's, as I was saying, is really good for historic architecture because they're historically quite poor. So a lot of their architecture is actually original to the Tudor era when they were sort of in their foundational period. Unfortunately, they've decided to put the Erasmus building right on the river, which is what everyone sees. Yeah, they're just replacing the windows. The Erasmus building is listed, believe it or not. Just be careful about eyes. Sometimes the umbrellas can be a bit temperamental, especially this new batch we've got. If it's not clicking up, is it not clicking up? Okay, yeah. So you guys have got another one. Can I pass that one back and I'll take it back to the office? It's really, yeah. Me and my colleague went through every single umbrella we had about a week ago, and they've already started to break. But yeah, you've got another one just there on the right.
When you say that you're studying in Cambridge,
Yes.
basically that means they might be studying in any one of these 7 colleges.
Any one of the 31 in Cambridge.
31 of
Yeah, but they're all part of the University of Cambridge. And say, for example, we both studied economics, and you went to King's, and I went to Queen's. We'd go to the same lectures together. It doesn't matter. So yeah, you can. Yeah, they're all intertwined. They're all part of the same university. It's really odd language, which just puts everyone off. But yeah, they're all part of the same university.
Is there any specific grading or ranking like this college is better than that?
There is something called the Tompkins table, which ranks colleges based on the amount of 2s, 2-1s and first class degrees that their students get. And there's obviously sporting rankings and stuff as well. We play each other at most sports each year. So yeah, there's various ways that we try to compete with each other. But once again, yeah, it's still under the umbrella of the University of Cambridge. There's a funny story about the King's Chapel building, and it includes a society we have in Cambridge called the Night Climbers. So what the Night Climbers do, as their name suggests, is they climb buildings in the middle of the night, but they don't have any permission to do so, they just do it. And one evening, they climbed that building and they placed a traffic cone on top of the left spire.
Which one is that?
The King's Chapel, so the big tall one. Yeah, so they placed a traffic cone on the top left spire, and this greatly upset the fellows of King's College, who couldn't climb up themselves to get it, so they had to go get some scaffolding. Scaffolding takes a little while to put up, maybe about a week to get to the top of that building. So the night climbers, they watched them build the scaffolding, they waited till they were about a day away from getting the cone down until the scaffolding was nearly at the top. When the scaffolding was nearly at the top, the night climbers came back, they took the cone off the left tower, they moved it to the right, rendering all that scaffolding completely useless.
Somebody say that Cambridge University, right?
Yeah.
So all 31 colleges are under Cambridge University.
Yes, yeah. So your degree comes from the University of Cambridge.
So it doesn't matter where you are, which
No, so the colleges, they house you, is where you live, is where you'll probably socialise there, but yeah, your education is done by the university. Yeah, you can apply to one college and end up going to another. So yeah, if you apply, for example, you can imagine that King's, Trinity, St John's, they have the most amount of applicants. So for example, if they had like 15 really good people apply for economics in 1 year, and they only had room for 10, they'd take the top 10 and then they'd put the 5 that were still really good, they'd put them in something called the pool, and the pool, other colleges can potentially give them an offer if they're better than who's applied to their college.
And so averagely how many students are in each college?
It massively varies. So each college, yeah, the biggest is Trinity, which I think has got about 300 undergrads a year, and then the smallest is Peterhouse, which has got about less than 100 per year. So it massively varies. But yeah, there's 23,000 students in Cambridge in total. Students in Cambridge, but that's including both undergraduate and postgraduate. We just went under the oldest bridge on the river. Clare Bridge is about 350 years old. If you look at the archway over my left shoulder over that way, you'll see how wonky the bridge is. And this is because the architect behind the bridge was a massive alcoholic. He mismeasured the bank, and instead of admitting his mistake and designing a new bridge, he tried to design around his mistake, and he gave us a very wonky bridge. Clare College, they weren't very happy about this. They refused to pay him for his work. But that bridge has been stood up for, as I said, well over 300 years now. So maybe he did an all right job. Oliver Cromwell, he kept that bridge up during the English Civil War. He destroyed all the other older ones. And yeah, he's intertwined with Cambridge, Cromwell. He went to Sydney, Sussex. And then after they restored the monarchy, they dug up Oliver Cromwell's body and they put him on trial for treason. And they found him guilty of treason. They sentenced his dead body to death. And then don't know what's going on here. Yeah, he sentenced his dead body to death, and then beheaded him and sent his head to Sydney Sussex College, where it lies to this day.
How do you guys get paid around monthly? It's a good one.
Pardon, sorry, how?
How do you guys get paid?
Per tour, which is good, yeah. Obviously, we accumulate tours throughout the month and get paid once a month. But yeah, that's why in the summer, like I think I said at the start, that the most I've done is 10 tours. It's how they keep you motivated from your 9th to your 10th, because obviously you're very tired by the 20th mile of punting. But
Every job is like that.
yeah.
The more you work, the more you get.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good that it works that way. Although it's a little bit annoying on some of the days when just the tours aren't there. Like if it starts raining, I assume today's going to die down a little bit. But we've had a good morning, so it's fine. And those days are pretty rough. But there's always like one bad day for about 10 good days, which is nice.
That's good. That's a good rate.
Although British summer could be a bit more favourable. Although I'd probably rather work in the British summer than the Hong Kong summer. That would probably kill me, punting. Yeah.
When you're in Hong Kong, we usually say that you'd rather work in Hong Kong summer than Indian summer.
Okay. Well, yeah, one of my friends just went to India and it was like 40 degrees.
Yeah, and some of the places even go up to 50.
Yeah, which is very dangerous, especially if you combine that with humidity. That's extremely lethal. This college here, Trinity, this is where King Charles went. So King Charles, the current king, he studied here. He wasn't the brightest person to get into Cambridge. He got a B and a C in his A-levels. The typical offer for a humanities student is 1 A star and 2 A's. Typical offer for a sciences student is 2 A stars and 1 A. Charles didn't quite get that. Originally, he applied to Oxford and he got rejected once they saw his grades. And then he applied to Cambridge, which you're not allowed to do. You have to apply to Oxford or Cambridge. You're not allowed to apply to both in the same year. Yeah, as an undergraduate, it's just not allowed to. Yeah, yeah, you can't. It takes too much time. I guess they both want your to have really good acceptance rates as well. So Cambridge, people who accept Cambridge offers is like 95% or something silly, which is what they want. If they start competing with Oxford, it's going to get a lot lower. It also, to get into Cambridge, Oxford, you have to do an interview or 2 interviews, sorry, and also you have to submit extra testings and stuff. So so it would just take too much time for a student trying to do their A-levels. But yeah, he didn't have to worry about that. He was allowed to apply to both, and he initially was rejected from Cambridge as well until his mother wrote him a letter of recommendation, and the letter of recommendation, it changed their tune. They decided to let him in when the Queen wrote them a letter. And to be fair to Charles, before he attended the college, he himself wrote a letter asking to be treated like he were any other student. And there's a rule here in Cambridge: you're not allowed a car. The university don't like it, so they banned it. So Charles, on his first day to be like any other student, he showed up in his helicopter. Oh, sorry, did that? These. There you go. This is where St John's host their May Ball. So May Balls are huge parties hosted by the colleges each year. Not every college hosts one each year because they're really expensive. But the typical ticket for just a normal student is £240. It starts at 7 p.m. The party doesn't finish till 6 a.m. And Time magazine ranked the St John's May Ball as the 7th best party in the world.
So averagely what's the fees over here?
So in the UK, at every university, it's £9,250 a year. On top of that, you pay your rent and your living expenses. If you're not a British student though, if you're an international student, you pay a lot more money. So it can be upwards of £25,000. So 25,000 is actually like the minimum. Just keep your hands inside the boat, please. Just watch the other boat. He's got a bit of a tank stopper on.
That's £9,000 yearly.
Yeah.
Averagely, how much is the housing?
So in Cambridge, it's a bit cheaper, and this is because the colleges provide your accommodation, and they'll rent you out your room for term, and they'll sublet it. So they'll make more money from the room. So the cheapest room, I think, in my college is. Don't worry, you've got enough space. Yeah, the cheapest room in my college is about £4,000 a year as first year com, and then the most expensive is £5,800, which is really good in comparison to what I imagine in like Hong Kong, what you'd be paying for rent, or in London or other universities generally. It's quite a good rate.
So what are the conditions? Like you said that they can go for Cambridge or Oxford, right?
Yes. So in my scenario, it was very specific in the way that I didn't want to study any of the degrees on offer at Oxford. None of them appealed to me, but there was a degree that I really wanted to do in Cambridge, so I applied to Cambridge. Other things like location, how much you like it, is just as a place, you could visit both. They also do loads of summer schools, so that's partly the people who sublet my room are mostly school kids coming over and trying it out. So you could, for example, my girlfriend, she went to Oxford twice and then decided she didn't like it very much and now goes to Cambridge. So
the degrees being offered in both of these colleges?
Yeah, but they'll be run differently. So why she did it, she applied to Cambridge over Oxford because history is run differently in Cambridge over Oxford. Like the course structure is different and it's more appealing here for her. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. They're both great universities. I'm often asked which one's better, Cambridge or Oxford, and to that I normally say, well, Cambridge we educate the UK scientists, we've got the most Nobel Prizes. Oxford they educate the UK's politicians. So I think you can decide from that. If you look on the back of the Newcourt building there, you can see it's got that plant all over the back, which is now much loved, that ivy. It's now a much loved part of Cambridge. However, initially it was placed there to cover up a great embarrassment for St John's College. So St John's, when they're building the Newcourt, they wanted to really show off. They wanted the most sort of beautiful, prestigious building, and but they didn't have enough money. So initially they wanted to build the whole building using the stone you see on the sides, but that stone was really expensive. They couldn't afford to do that. So they had to do the front and the sides in the big stone, and then they had to do on the back, they used cheap residential brick to try to save a little bit of money. And the idea was, A, nobody would see the back of their building. This is because they didn't really see punting becoming a big thing. And then also they just covered up with the Virginia creeper, which is a plant growing on the back. So that's why we've got the Virginia creeper there.
So as per what you said, seems like Trinity is the first pick for most of the students.
It's hard to say because people pick colleges for weird reasons. Trinity, yeah, they're the biggest, they're the richest, but
that also means they might be having higher tuition fees.
No, so they can't change their tuition fee. If anything, it means like their rent is probably going to be less because they've got no incentive to really generate money because they've got so much already. Like Trinity upping your rent 10% isn't going to affect their financial situation at all. Whereas other smaller colleges might be more inclined to up your accommodation fees. Yeah, no, first choice, it's really odd why people pick colleges. It's mostly off just sort of tours and having a Google search. A lot of people wouldn't pick Trinity because everyone picks Trinity. So so you want to find something which has maybe got less people applying, or maybe you just want to go to a smaller college because that appeals more.
When you say smaller college, does that mean the value of the degrees after you get graduated?
No. So your degree's from the University of Cambridge, and if you went into an interview and you said you'd gone to Cambridge, and someone said, which college did you go to? Almost certainly then they went to Cambridge themselves, or Oxford, or they just, like, their brother went to Cambridge or something, sister went to Cambridge. Yeah, people, well, all, like, Cambridge students would know every college, but outsiders would maybe know Trinity College, maybe know King's, but other than that, wouldn't know anything about any of them. And, yeah. Well, yeah, for example, like, Professor Stephen Hawking's, he's known as one of the most intelligent sort of scientists of all time. He went to Trinity Hall and then Gonville Keys. The college, it doesn't matter. You'll work with people from every college.
And is there recruitment from the campus once you finish off?
So I think they do like careers fairs and stuff. There's something called Handshake, which is like the Cambridge University Careers Service, but it's not like you get, like, most students won't get headhunted like straight out. They'll have to work really hard to get grad jobs. At the moment it's quite hard. The job market's quite tough for students. People aren't really hiring that many young people, so everyone's sort of struggling. But Cambridge, it does put you in good stead, and they give you some resources. The good thing as well about Cambridge is there's really strong alumni relations. So people who went to the college 10 years ago, 15 years ago, are quite likely to maybe come back, and then you talk to them, and then you can maybe try get some sort of like internship or something from there. But yeah, it's not as easy as I think it once was, as it sounded like it was in the 80s, for example, the 90s. You went into Cambridge, you just strolled into like some old friend's office, and they'd let you have a job. It doesn't really work like that anymore.
So when you're starting in some other places like Essex or in the UK, that's not under Cambridge?
No. It's yeah, different.
Different university?
Yeah. Yeah, the University of Cambridge is just the 31 colleges here. And they're all less than, or like most of them are less than 1,000 people, and they're all their own thing. And they all, yeah, the furthest one out is Girton, which is 2 miles away. But they still go to lectures with everyone else.
How many, approximately, any idea? How many universities, how many colleges under Oxford?
37, I believe. Yep. And once again, they're still very small subsections of the university. It's still only one university though. That on the left, that is the newest building on the river. So this is Magdalen College's brand new library. So it's only about 4 years old. It won an architecture award quite recently. Cost them millions of pounds, took them years and years to build. After all this time, money and effort, what do you think they've decided to call their new library? After all of that, they decided to call their new library the new library. So that's what it's called. I assume what they're doing is they're waiting for someone very wealthy to come along, donate loads of money, so come back next year. I might be calling that the Bezos Library or something. Hopefully not though. Yeah, unfortunately we are heading towards the end of our tour. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you've got any last questions about Cambridge, University, whatever, please feel free to ask them now. Any last ones? If not, yeah, well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your time here in Cambridge. Only a few things from me before you get off. Number one, please keep your fingers inside the boat. Secondly, please let me go off the boat first. I'll secure it, I'll give you guys a hand out. And finally, it's known as the iPhone graveyard, the bit of water between us and dry land. Make sure you hold your phones, your wallets, anything you don't want to drop in the river. Be very mindful not to drop it in the river. And then finally, if you've enjoyed the tour, my name's Ewan. If you'd like to leave a good review, please put my name in it. If you don't want to leave a good review, you can leave my name out. Yeah, I'm joking. Thank you very much. Anyway, I'll just park up the boat and I'll give you guys a hand out.